Maya believed the system would protect her when she quietly reported the harassment. She followed every rule, stayed calm, and trusted that justice would prevail. But when the plane landed, she discovered that speaking up had made her the criminal. And the truth about who the system really protects would destroy everything she thought. She knew about safety. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. Maya Chun fastened her seatbelt. As Flight 447 prepared for takeoff from Atlanta to Seattle. She was 26, a software engineer heading home after visiting her grandmother. Her black hair was pulled into a ponytail, and she wore comfortable jeans and a grey sweater. She settled into seat 18C, the middle seat, hoping for an uneventful 5-hour flight. She pulled out her tablet, ready to catch up on work emails. The plane filled quickly, passengers shuffling down the narrow aisle, shoving bags into overhead compartments. A man took the aisle seat next to her, 18D. He was in his 40s, wearing a business suit, carrying a leather briefcase. Maya glanced at him briefly, offered a polite smile, then returned to her screen. The engines roared to life, and the plane began taxiing toward the runway. Everything seemed normal at first. The plane climbed into the sky, the seatbelt sign turned off, and passengers settled into their routines. Maya worked on her tablet, responding to messages from her team. But then she felt it, a hand on her thigh. She froze, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. The man beside her had placed his hand on her leg, just above her knee. Maya's heart pounded. She shifted away, pressing herself against the passenger in the window seat. The hand withdrew. Maya told herself it was an accident. Maybe he had reached for something and miscalculated. Maybe he was asleep and his hand had fallen. She tried to focus on her work, but her body was tense, alert. 10 minutes later, it happened again. This time, the hand moved higher, squeezing her thigh deliberately. Maya jerked away, her breath catching. She looked at the man. He was staring straight ahead, his expression blank, as if nothing had happened. Maya's mind raced. This was not an accident. This was intentional. She felt sick, trapped. The window seat passenger was asleep, headphones on. The rows around her were full of people, absorbed in movies, books, sleep. No one was paying attention. She was alone with this violation happening in a crowded plane. Maya stood abruptly, climbing over the man to get to the aisle. He did not move. His legs to let her pass, forcing her to squeeze awkwardly past him. She felt his eyes on her body as she stumbled into the aisle. She walked quickly to the back of the plane, her legs shaking. She found a flight attendant near the galley, a woman in her 30s with kind eyes and a name tag that read Jennifer. Maya approached her, keeping her voice low. She explained what had happened, the unwanted touching, the deliberate nature of it. Jennifer's expression shifted from friendly to concerned. She asked Maya for her seat number and the description of the man. Maya provided everything, her voice trembling. Jennifer told her to wait in the galley area while she handled the situation. Maya stood there, arms wrapped around herself, watching as Jennifer walked toward the front of the plane. She felt a flicker of hope. She had reported it. The flight attendant would talk to the man, move Maya to a different seat, maybe even alert the captain. Justice would happen. Maya believed in the system, believed that reporting abuse was the right thing to do. She had done everything correctly. But 15 minutes passed, and Jennifer did not return. Maya remained in the galley, passengers squeezing past her to use the restroom, casting curious glances her way. Finally, Jennifer reappeared, but her expression was different now. Guarded, professional but cold. She pulled Maya aside into the small galley space. She explained that she had spoken with the passenger. He denied everything. He said Maya had been the one acting strangely, leaning into him, making him uncomfortable. He claimed she was fabricating the story. Jennifer's voice was measured, carefully neutral. She said there were no witnesses to corroborate Maya's account. She said the airline took all complaints seriously, but without evidence, there was little they could do. She offered to move Maya to a different seat if one became available, but the flight was completely full. Maya stared at her, unable to process what she was hearing. She had been touched without consent. She had reported it immediately, and now she was being told that nothing could be done because the man denied it, because there were no witnesses, because it was her word against his. Jennifer suggested Maya return to her seat and avoid further interaction with the passenger. Maya felt something crack inside her chest. Return to her seat. Sit next to the man who had violated her. Pretend nothing had happened. She wanted to scream, to demand action, to refuse to go back. But she was on a plane at 35,000 feet. She had nowhere to go. She nodded numbly and walked back down the aisle, every eye in the cabin seeming to follow her. She climbed back over the man to reach her middle seat. He did not look at her, but she saw the slight smirk on his face. He knew she had reported him, and he knew nothing had been done. Maya sat rigidly, her body angled as far away from him as possible. She did not touch her tablet. She did not move. She just sat there, counting the minutes until landing, feeling the man's presence, like a weight pressing down on her. She felt humiliated, powerless, betrayed. The system she had trusted had failed her completely. An hour into the flight, things escalated. The man leaned toward her, his mouth close to her ear. He whispered that she had made a big mistake reporting him. He said she had no idea who she was dealing with. He said he could make her life very difficult. Maya's blood turned to ice. Was he threatening her? She looked around desperately, hoping someone had heard, but everyone was oblivious. She stood again, pushing past him, and went straight to the galley. She found Jennifer and told her about the threat. Jennifer sighed, a flash of frustration crossing her face. She said she would speak to the passenger again, but Maya could see it in her eyes. Jennifer did not believe her. Or worse, Jennifer believed her, but did not care enough to do anything meaningful about it. Jennifer returned 20 minutes later with a different flight attendant, a man named Derek. They pulled Maya aside and explained that the passenger had filed a formal complaint against her. He claimed she was harassing him, making false accusations, and creating a disturbance on the flight. He was demanding that action be taken against her. Maya felt the world tilt. She was being accused. She was the one being harassed and threatened. And somehow she had become the problem. Derek's tone was firm. He said that if Maya continued to make accusations without proof, she could face consequences when they landed. He said the captain had been informed of the situation and that authorities might be involved upon arrival. He advised her to return to her seat and remain quiet for the rest of the flight. Maya walked back to her seat in a daze. She felt like she was living in a nightmare. She had done everything right. She had reported quietly, discreetly, following proper channels. And she was being punished for it. The man beside her sat smugly, arms crossed, a victor in a battle she had not known she was fighting. The rest of the flight was agony. Maya did not sleep, did not eat, did not drink. She just sat there, her mind spinning, her body numb. She replayed every moment, questioning herself. Had she misread the situation? No. She knew what had happened. She had felt his hand, heard his threat, but it did not matter. The system had chosen to believe him over her. As the plane began its descent into Seattle, the captain's voice came over the intercom, announcing their arrival. Passengers began stirring, gathering belongings, preparing to disembark. Maya remained, seated, her stomach in knots. She did not know what would happen when they landed, but she knew it would not be good. The plane touched down, and passengers began filing out. Maya waited, letting the crowd thin. But as she stood to leave, Jennifer and Derek approached her row. They asked her to remain seated and wait for further instructions. Maya's heart sank. The man from 18D exited the plane without a glance in her direction, free to go on with his life. After all, passengers had deplaned. 2 airport police officers boarded. They walked directly to Maya's row. One of them, a tall man with a stern expression, asked if she was Maya-chan. She nodded. He told her she needed to come with them. Maya grabbed her bag and followed them off the plane, her legs weak. They walked through the jet bridge into the terminal, where passengers from her flight were scattered, some waiting for connections, others heading to baggage claim. People stared as Maya was escorted by police. She saw the judgment in their eyes, the assumption that she had done something wrong. She wanted to shout that she was the victim, but her voice was trapped in her throat. The officers led her to a small security office near the gates. Inside, they instructed her to sit. They took her identification and began asking questions. They wanted her to explain what had happened on the flight. Maya told them everything, her voice shaking. She described the unwanted touching, the threat, her reports to the flight crew. She showed them the timestamps on her tablet, proving she had been working before the harassment began, but the officers seemed skeptical. They told her the male passenger had provided a very different account. He said Maya had been acting erratically, that she had made inappropriate advances toward him, and that when he rejected her, she had fabricated a harassment claim out of spite. He had witness statements from the flight crew supporting his version. Jennifer and Derek had both submitted reports stating that the male passenger had appeared calm and cooperative, while Maya had been agitated and accusatory. Maya could not breathe. This was impossible. This was a complete inversion of reality. She was the one who had been calm. She was the one who had reported quietly. She was the one who had followed every rule, and she was being painted as unstable, vengeful, dangerous. One officer leaned forward, his tone patronizing. He said they understood that flights could be stressful, that misunderstandings happened. But making false claims was a serious offense. It wasted resources, damaged reputations, and could result in criminal charges. He said they were going to let her go with a warning this time, but if she ever filed another false report, she would face arrest. Maya sat frozen. A warning. She was being warned for reporting sexual harassment. She was being threatened with arrest for speaking the truth. The officers released her, and she walked out of the security office into the bustling terminal. She felt hollow, gutted. She had trusted the system to protect her, and instead, it had weaponized itself against her. She thought about all the women who had come before her, who had reported abuse and been dismissed, blamed, punished. She understood now why so many stayed silent. Because speaking up did not bring justice. It brought retaliation. Days later, Maya could not shake the weight of what had happened. She replayed every moment, every decision. She wondered what she could have done differently. Should she have screamed on the plane, made a scene, forced people to pay attention? Should she have recorded the harassment somehow, gathered evidence before reporting? But even as she thought this, she knew it was wrong. She should not have needed to prove her victimization beyond all doubt. She should have been believed. Her word should have been enough. But it was not. It never had been. Maya decided to share her story on social media. She wrote a detailed account, naming the airline, describing the failures at every level. Within hours, thousands of women responded. They shared their own stories of being harassed on planes, in offices, on streets, and being dismissed when they reported it. They shared stories of being blamed, of having their reputations destroyed, of facing legal threats for speaking up. The airline issued a statement saying they had zero tolerance for harassment and were reviewing their protocols. But Maya knew the truth. The protocols were working exactly as intended. They were designed to protect perpetrators, to silence victims, to make sure the system never had to change. Maya's story sparked a national conversation about how institutions handle harassment claims, about the power dynamics that allow abusers to turn accusations back on their victims, about the way women are punished for speaking up. But for Maya, it was not just a conversation. It was her trauma, her violation, her betrayal. It was the moment she learned that the system was not broken. It was functioning perfectly, just not for her. It was functioning to protect power, to maintain order, to keep victims quiet. And until that system was torn down and rebuilt from the ground up, nothing would change. Women would continue to be harassed. They would continue to report. And they would continue to be punished for having the audacity to speak. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.